New release day. I love new release day. It's Tuesdays. New release day means a little bit less, now in 2015 than it did 15, 20, 25 years ago when the only way to get new music was to go out and go buy a CD. Um, Today, for me, in my musical taste, new release day has two great releases. Old Cheetah by Hawksley Workman and How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful by Florence and the Machine. I'm sorry, I keep getting messed up on the arrangement of those words. I've only had a chance to listen to Florence once today. It's only been out for, let's see here, stores opened at 10, it's 9 o'clock, so I've only had about 14 hours to enjoy these records. However, I have listened to several times to Old Cheetah by Hawksley Workman. Thank you to the people at Six Shooter Records for giving me a link to give it a couple advanced listens to within the last week. And I will say this, um, Six Shooter Records, I don't like digital downloads. And how are you to know that? And it would be very presumptuous for me to have said, hey, send me a physical copy because I'm going to buy it anyways, but I want an advance copy. And so I still got to listen to it a little bit in advance. Thanks again to Six Shooter. But I hate MP3s. I hate digital downloads. Anyways, what I don't hate is the album. Hawksley Workman is now on his 15th release. You know that I'm a huge fan, as demonstrated in one of my very first album reviews here on Album a Day Online, with his debut record For Him and the Girls. Um, Hawksley continues to evolve his sound. He's never necessarily been um, content to just stay in one particular corner of the musical realm and allow that to sort of define how he is musically. The best way to describe Hawksley, for those of you who don't know, is you sort of take equal parts Freddie Mercury with Tom Waits, throw in a little bit of some Neil Young in there, add a little bit of vaudevillian every now and again, put a little bit of Motown in there sometimes, take a little bit out, add a little bit of, pop rock, and you get the smorgasbord, the fruit compote, the the wonderful, wonderful, bizarre conundrum that is Hawksley Workman. He tried for a little while there in the middle of his career, as if his career is over. About 10, 15 years ago now, 10, 12 years ago now, he deliberately tried to sort of write music that was a little more accessible for the masses. And for some of his fans, it didn't quite ring true. And I know a few of his fans that sort of said, okay, I'm out, because it wasn't indie enough or whatever. People in indie rock circles can be very, very precious. Um, I've always stuck with Hawksley. In fact, I've never found myself to be disappointed because I've never allowed myself to feel disappointed in an artist from wanting to try something new. Hawksley on this record isn't necessarily doing anything new, especially if you followed him as he and some friends formed a band called Mounties 3 years ago now, and released thrash rock Legacy. The Mounties is Hawksley on vocals and drums, at least for the recording process. Ryan Dahl of most famously Age of Electric, the fantastic West Coast band, and another West Coast band, Hot Hot Heat, their lead singer, organ piano player Stephen Bays. Both Ryan and Stephen contribute to this record. Stephen contributes musically to almost to every track, and he actually is a co-writer on several of the tracks. Musically, Old Cheetah does very much feel like a continuation of the music that was written and recorded for the thrash rock Legacy recording sessions a few years ago, put together by Ryan, Stephen, and Hawksley. This being a solo release by Hawksley, it's got a little more Hawksley flavor than, say, the Mounties album did, but it also very much carries with it sort of that what I assumed was a Stephen Bay's Hot Hot Heat influence. You know, sort of that slightly synth pop, synth rock, slightly whiny vocals. And I'm not saying that as a derogatory term, but let's face it, Stephen Bay's voice is a little bit on the higher pitch, slightly um, whiny side of the singing spectrum, and not necessarily a bad way, just that's the way his voice sounds, and that's sort of an effect that Hawksley has taken on for the recording of this record. It doesn't contain songs and songwriting like we've been used to from Hawksley, or we look forward to from Hawksley, especially from his past output, like For Him and the Girls and The Delicious Wolves, which are arguably his two best records, although I really don't think Lover Fighter should be discounted whatsoever, and I'm also a big fan of his most recent solo releases, Meat and Milk. Now, if you're a Hawksley fan, you're going to be on board. If you were an old Hawksley fan and have been kind of straying away because of some of the more quote unquote mainstream sounds and songs that Hawksley has put out over the last 15 years, I'd say it's time to dip your toes back in the Hawksley waters, because Old Cheetah is a lot more exploratory. It's a lot more adventurous, sonically at least, if not songwriterly. That's not a word. Sonically being the sounds he employs and the sounds that he uses to craft the songs, and the songcraft itself is very definitely a little more adventurous than previous efforts. But to my mind, as a big Hawksley fan, just as good, and certainly just as worthy. If you're an old Hawksley fan, the point is, if you're an old Hawksley fan and you've been waiting for an album for him to be released, for you to get back on board, I do strongly recommend that you check this out. So, Old Cheetah by Hawksley Workman on 6-Shooter Records. Again, thank you to 6-Shooter for the advanced listening ability, I guess. Great Canadian artist. One of the best Canadian artists I've thought in the last 50 years, if not of all time. Hawksley's big. He's great. He's worth checking out. Old Cheetah by Hawksley Workman. It's out today, new album release day, and over the next few days, I'm going to bring you a review of how big, how beautiful the new Florence and the Machine release. My name is Daryl. Go out there, listen to new music, discover new music, return to music that you might have strayed away from because you weren't sure whether you liked it anymore. You'll definitely like this if you're an old Hawksley fan. My name is Daryl. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about a Yahoo on YouTube who seems to think he has the right to critique other people's music. My computer timed out.